It's me, Thundercloud, aka James, here on Chillin Tuesday at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Well, tonight we've got some fun poetic games for you. Yes, I'm going to be continuing on with the long saga of reading through the Henry Lawson complete works of poetry, and we'll be focusing on his year 1898 this week, and also 1899. My big apologies for not putting up a broadcast last week for Chillin Tuesday. I forgot to push the go button when I recorded it, and when I finished and realised that I hadn't recorded it, I was too tired and I just went to bed. So much apologies, and I don't have the time to schedule it in again. So here I are. We'll just repeat what I did last week and add a bit more to make it more interesting. All right, what's happening here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame? Well, you can get these cool t-shirts, the merchandise, online. Check out memoinaustralia.com or the Australian Poetry or Australian Poetry Hall of Fame.com.au. I'll leave the links below. And we also have these cool cups, Australian Poetry Hall of Fame mugs. Chamomile tea. Oh, I love the smell of that. Hope it doesn't make me fall asleep reading the poetry. Oh, yeah, hello. What's happening? Okay, so the weather will be good or not is really up to what I want to read out. And how do you want to interpret it, really? Because we're in Gyra and it's cooler than most places. It's a cool place, yeah. It's currently 12.9, feels like 11 according to the BOM. And overnight it's going to go down to 7 degrees, and tomorrow's maximum is 18. Over the week, on Thursday we're heading for on Anzac Day, the 17 degrees and 7 overnight. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday we're heading into cooler weather. 6, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the minimums, and 16, 17, 18, 19 and back to 18 next Tuesday. There'll be no rain, mostly sunny, partly cloudy a little bit there and here and there, but dry. Yep, that's Gyra for you. It's April. Well, let's get on and read some poetry, will we? And we're beginning the night with Henry Lawson's reading out of a Campfire yarn, as I have been for the last few months. And this is his 1898 poetry. And the first one I've got for you is called Sydney Side. Where's the steward? Barroom steward? Berth? Oh, any berth will do. I have left a £3 billet just to come along with you. Brighter shines the star of rovers in a world that's growing wide. But I think I'd give a kingdom for a glimpse of Sydney Side. Run of rocky shelves at sunrise, with their base on ocean's bed, home of Coogee, homes of Bondi and the lighthouse at South Head. For its loneliness and hardship, and with just a touch of pride, has my heart been taught to whisper, you belong to Sydney Side. Oh, there never dawned a morning in the long and lonely days, but I thought I saw the ferries streaming out across the bays. And as fresh and fair in fancy did the picture rise again, as the sunrise flushed the city from Wallara to Balmain, and the sunny water frothing round the liners, black and red, and the coastal schooners working by the loom of Bradley's Head, and the whistles and the sirens that re-echo far and wide, and all the life and light and beauty that belong to Sydney Side. And the dreary cloud line never veiled the end of day one more. The city set in jewels rose before me from the shore. Round the sea world shine the beacons of 1,000 ports a call. But the harbour lights of Sydney, the grandest of them all, toiling out beyond Coolgardie, heart and back and spirit broke, where the rover's star gleams redly in the desert by the soak. But, says one mate to the other, brace your lip and do not fret. We will laugh on trams and buses. Sydney's in the same place yet. Working in the south in winter to the waist in dripping fern, where the local spirit hungers for each sixpence that we earn. We can stand it for a season, for our world is growing wide and they all are friends and strangers who belong to Sydney side. The other siders, yet we wake the dusty dead. It is we that send the backward province 50 years ahead. We, it is that trim Australia making narrow country wide. Yet we're always the other siders till we sail for Sydney side. Henry Lawson. And that was first published in Verses Popular and Humorous, Sydney side. The next one is about the ships that won't go down. That's the title, by Henry Lawson. We hear a great commotion about the ship that comes to grief, that founders in mid-ocean or is driven on a reef, because it's cheap and brittle, a score of sinners drown. But we hear mighty little of the ships that won't go down. He's honour to the builders of the past. He is honour to the builders that builded ships to last. He is honour to the captain and honour to the crew. He is double column headlines to the ships that battle through. They make a great sensation about famous men that fail, that sink a world of chances in the City Morgul jail, who drink or blow their brains out because of fortune's frown. But we hear far too little of the men who won't go down. The world is full of trouble and the world is full of wrong, but the heart of man is noble and the heart of man is strong. And they say the sea sings dirges, but I would say to you that the wild wave songs are paean for the men that battle through. From the Verses Popular and Humorous by Henry Lawson. The next one is called The Christ of the Never. With eyes that seem shrunken to pierce to the awful horizons of land, through the hot haze of days and the fierce white heat waves that flow on the sand, through the Neverland westward and norward, bronzed, bearded and gaunt on the track, quiet-voiced and hard-knuckled rides forward the Christ of the outer outback. For the cause that will never be relinquished, spite of all the great cynics on earth, in the ranks of the bush undistinguished by manner of dress, if by birth. God's preacher of churches unheeded, God's vineyard through barren the sod. Plain spokesman where spokesman is needed, rough link twixt the bushman and God. He works where the hearts of all nations are withered in flame from the sky, where the sinners work out their salvations in the hell upon earth ere they die, in the camp or the lonely hut lying in a waste that seems out of God's sight. He's the doctor, the mate of the dying, through the smothering heat of the night. by his work in the hells of the shearers, where the drinking is ghastly and grim, where the roughest and worst of his hearers have listened bareheaded to him, by his paths through the parched desolation, hot rides and the terrible trams, by the hunger, the search, the privation of his work in the furthermost camps, by his worth in the light that shall search men and prove and justify each, I place him in front of all churchmen who feel not, who know not, but preach. A lovely little poem, that one. They're all lovely little poems, really, aren't they? Hey, while I'm just having this sip of my chamomile tea, why don't you just click on the thumbs up and subscribe? Click on the subscribe button. That's it. Do it now. Yeah, right now. And then you get informed about more videos coming up as I put more videos up here on YouTube. The next one's called The Dons of Spain. Eagle screams at the beck of trade, so Spain, as the world goes round, must wrestle the right to live or die from the sons of the land she found. For as in the days when the buccaneer was abroad on the Spanish main, the national honour is one thing dear to the hearts of the Dons of Spain. She has slaughtered thousands with fire and sword, as the Christian world might know. We murder millions, but thank the Lord we only starve them slow. The times have changed since the days of old, but the same old facts remain. We fight for freedom and God and gold, and the Spaniards fight for Spain. We fought with the strength of the moral right, and they, as their ships went down, they only fought with the grit to fight and their armour to help them drown. It mattered little what chance or hope, for ever their path was plain. The church was the church and the pope, but the Spaniards fought for Spain. If Providence struck for the honest thief at times in the battle's din, if ever it struck at the hypocrite, well, that's where the Turks come in. But this remains ere we leave the wise to argue it through in vain. There's something great in the wrong that dies as the Spaniards die for Spain. The foes of Spain may be kin to us who are English heart and soul, and proud of our national righteousness and proud of the lands we stole. But we might yet pause while those brave men die and drink death pledge again. For the sake of the pint, if you doomed, say I, may your death one be a grand one, Spain. Then here's to the bravest of freedom's foes, who ever with death have stood, for the sake of the courage to die on steel as their fathers died on wood. And here is a cheer for the flag unfurled in a hopeless cause again, for the sake of the days when the Christian world was saved by the Dons of Spain. Next one, Out on the Roofs of Hell. Oh, that should be interesting. This one was first published in the Bulletin, Out on the Roofs of Hell by Henry Lawson. Sing us a song in this cynical age. Sing us a song, my friend, while the flesh and the devil are all the rage and the death seems the only end. Give it the clatter of hoof-clipped bones and a note like a dingo's yell, and the long low sigh when the big mob moans out on the roofs of hell. For wool, tallow and hides and co, for wool, tallow and hides, Over the roofs of hell we go for wool, tallow and hides. We take the route or we take the track, hell doomed by the greed of men. And we leave our wives in the scrubs out back to struggle as best they can. For the credit is short and the flour is low, and this is the tale we tell. A check must be made and the stock must go over the roofs of hell. Wake ere the burst of the great white sun into the blazing skies. Our limbs are stiff and the lids are gummed over our blighted eyes. But our souls have perished in dust and heat, and this is the tale we tell. Our lives are ever a grim retreat, with death on the roofs of hell. They drivel and say how the bushman drinks, but what do the townsfolk know? The life is a hell to the man who thinks he must drink for his reason go. Drink and drink, as the bushman knows, till he's stripped to the skin and yell. Down for a charge, for a rest he goes, down through the roofs of hell. For wool and tallow and hides and co, for wool, tallow and hides, down through the roofs of hell they go, for wool, tallow and hides. And that was published in the Bulletin under the title, under the name Henry Lawson. Knocking Around was the next one by Henry Lawson, and this was first published in When I Was King. Weary old wife with a bucket cow, how's your son Jack and where is he now? Haggard old eyes that turn to the west, boys will be boys and he's gone with the rest. Grief without tears and grief without sound, somewhere up country's knocking around. Knocking around with a vagabond crew, does for himself what a mother would do. Maybe in trouble and maybe hard up, maybe in want of a bite or a sup, dead in the fever or lost in the drought, lonely old mother when he's knocking about. Wiry old man at the tail of the plough, heard of Jack lately and where is he now? Pauses a moment, his forehead to white, drops the rope, reins while he feels for his pipe, scratches his grey head in sorrow or doubt. Somewheres or others he's knocking about on the runs of the west, holding his own with the worst and the best, building in horses and risking his neck, driving or shearing or making a check. Straight as a sapling, 6 foot and sound. Jack is all right when he's knocking around. That was first published in When I Was King. All right, well that is the 1898 poetry of Henry Lawson. Now I'm going to move on to the 1899, the end of, well, 2 centuries ago really. But I'm not going to do all these prose things because there's a couple of really cool long prosaic sort of written pieces, short stories and that in here. One of them actually has got little snippets of poetry in it. But here we are. This next one is called The Sliprails and the Spur. The colours of the setting sun withdrew across the western land. He raised the sliprails one by one and shot them home with trembling hand. Her brown hands clung, her face grew pale. Ah, quivering chin and eyes that brim. One quick, fierce kiss across the rail. And goodbye, Mary. Goodbye, Jim. Oh, he rides hard to race the pain. Who rides from love, who rides from home, but he rides slowly home again. Whose heart has learnt to love and roam. A hand upon his horse's mane, and one foot in the stirrup set, and stooping back to kiss again with goodbye, Mary, don't you fret. When I come back, he laughed at her. We do not know how soon 'twill be. I'll whistle as I round the spur. You let the Sliprails down for me. She gasped for sudden loss of hope as up with a backward wave to her. He cantered down the grassy slope and swiftly round the darkening spur. Black pencilled panels standing high and darkness fading into stars and blurring fast against the sky, a faint white form beside the bars. And often in the setter sun, in winter bleak and summer brown, she'd steal across the little run and slyly let the Sliprails down. And listen there when darkness shut the nearest spur in silence deep. And when they called her from the hut, steal home and cry herself to sleep. A great white gate where the Sliprails were, a red house neath the mountain brow, the mad girl buried by the spur, so long ago forgotten now. He rides hard to dull the pain, who rides from one that he loves him best, and he rides slowly back again, whose restless heart rove for rest. A lovely poem. Next one's called, pardon me. Next one's called The Shakedown on the Floor by Henry Lawson. Set me back for 20 summers, for I'm tired of cities now, set my feet in red soil furrows and my hands upon the plough. With the two black brothers trudging on the home stretch through the loam, while along the grassy siding comes the cattle grazing home. And I finish ploughing early and I hurry home to tea. There's my black suit on the stretcher and a clean white shirt for me. There's a dance at Rocky Rises, and when all the fun is over, for a certain favoured party, there's a shakedown on the floor. You remember Mary Carey, Bushman's favourite on the rise, with her sweet small freckled features, red gold hair and kind grey eyes. Sister, daughter to her mother, mother, sister to the rest, and all my friends and kindred, Mary Carey loved me the best. For far too shy because she loved me to be dancing oft with me. What cared I because she loved me if the world were there to see? But we lingered by the Sliprails while the rest were riding home. Ere the dawn before the dawning dimmed the great star-clustered dome. Small brown hands that spread the mattress while the old folk winked to see how she'd find an extra pillow and an extra sheet for me. For a moment, slyly smiling, she would grant me one kiss more, slip away and leave me happy by the shakedown on the floor. Rock me hard in steerage cabins, rock me soft in wide saloons. Let me on the sand hill lonely under waning western moons. But wherever fight may find me for till I rest for everyone. But whatever rock me hard in steerage cabins, rock me soft in wide saloons, lay me on the sandhill lonely, under waning western moons. But wherever night may find me, till I rest forevermore, I will dream that I am happy, on the shakedown, on the floor. Ah, she often watched at sunset, for her people told me so, where I left her at the Sliprails more than 15 years ago. and she faded like a flower, and she died as such girls do, while away in northern Queensland, working hard, I barely knew. We suffer for our sorrows, and we suffer for our joys from the old bush days when mother spread the shakedown for the boys. But to cool a living fever, colder breath comes a cold breath to my brow, and I feel that Mary's spirit is beside me even now. That was published in Verses Popular and Humorous. Okay. Alright, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you click on the subscribe button right this moment. Thank you very much. Ah yes, the days when we went swimming. This is about skinny dipping. The breezes waved the silver grass, waist high along the siding, and to the creek we ne'er could pass. 3 boys on bareback riding, beneath the she-oaks in the bend, a waterhole was brimming. Do you remember yet the old friend, the times we went in swimming? The days we played the wag from school, joys shared and paid for singly. The air was hot and water cool, and made naked boys look kingly. The days we played the wag from school, joys shared and paid for singly. The air was hot, the water cool, and naked boys are kingly. With mud for soap, the sun to dry, a well-planned lie to stay us, and dust we well rubbed on the neck and face, lest cleanliness betray us. And you'll remember Farmer Coots, though scarcely for his beauty, he leased a 40-acre block and thought he owned the country, a farmer of the old world school. The men that grew hard and grimming, he drew his water from the pool that we preferred to swim in. And do you mind when down the creek his angry way he wended, a green-hide cart whip in his hand for our young backs intended? 3 naked boys upon the sand, half buried and half sunny. 3 startled boys without their clothes across the paddocks running. We've had some scares, but we looked blank when resting there and chumming. One glanced by chance along the bank and saw the farmer coming. And home impressions linger yet of cups of sorrow brimming. I hardly think that we'll forget the last day we went swimming. Lovely. A beautiful poem, that one. The Song of the Darling River. The only national work of the blacks was a dam or dike stones across the Darling River at Brewarrina. Okay, the Brewarrina fish traps. Song of the Darling River, or the Parkinji. The skies are brass and the plains are bare, death and ruin are everywhere. And all that's left of last year's flood is a sickly stream on the grey black mud. The salt springs bubble and quagmires quiver, and this is the dirge of the Darling River. I rise in the drought from Queensland rain. I fill my branches again and again. I hold my billabongs back in vain, for my life and my people's South Sea drain. And the land grows old and the people never will see the worth of the Darling River. I drown gullies and lave bare hills, I turn drought ruts into rippling rills. I form fair island and glades all green, till every bend is a sylvan scene. I have watered the barren lands 10 years wide, but in vain I've tried, in vain I've tried, to show the sign of the great all-giver, the word to a people, oh, Lock you river. I want no blistering large barge around, but racing steamers the seasons round. I want fair homes on my lovely ways, and people's love and people's praise, and rosy children to dive and swim, and fair girls' feet in my rippling brim, and cool green forests and gardens ever. Oh, this is the hymn of the darling river. The sky is brass and the scrublands glare. Death and ruin are everywhere. Thrown high to bleach or deep in the mud, the life bonus lies buried in last year's flood. And the daemons dance from the never never to laugh at the rise of the darling river. The next one I've got for you is called Song of the Darling. Actually, that was just called Song of the Darling. All right, well, that is where I'm going to start the evening, because that's Chillin Tuesday for the 23rd of April. And yeah, that's today. And tomorrow night we've got the open mic here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I open the doors at 5:30 for meals from Seahorse Medicine Cafe, and then 6:30, round about then, maybe a little bit after, we kick off the open mic. And comedians, stand-up artists, stand-up spoken word, performers, musicians, you name it, bring your instruments, bring your vocals, your voice, your poems, and come on down to Wednesday Words, open mic, poetry, comedy and spoken word every Wednesday night in Guyra. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. If I haven't asked you, I have asked you. The subscribe button's down there. Click on that. I'll also leave the link in the description. If you could make a donation, that would be really appreciated. You can do it by PayPal, you can do it by PayPal, you can do it by Ripple, you can do it digitally or just good old cash. It's up to you, but it all helps. Thank you very much. Peace out, and I'll see you tomorrow night from Wednesday Words. Boom!